Hello. I am back. Don't know when I'll be back after this. I mostly just kind of upload things to this channel whenever I feel called to or am instructed to do so. This is one of those times where I was instructed to do so. Um, Most of you guys know, since like 80% of my channel is Akashic Records based. This is again a session that was conducted with the intent to publish more information about the records. This came seemingly out of nowhere. I was like on my way to get food, and the Akashic Records are like, there's a lot of liars out there that are saying that they are working with the Akashic. And I was like, amen. And they were like, no, you have to go do something about it. And I was like, oh, me? Can I do it like on a different day? And thankfully they did give me a different day to do it, one where I was more calm and chill. So here I am. It was meant to be a short conversation, but then it turned into a much larger conversation. So I'm just going to do what I can to transcribe the conversation exactly as it was channeled. And I hope nobody out there takes it as a personal attack, because it's really not my intention to attack anybody that may or may not consciously or unconsciously be a little misdirected in their practice. As much as I'm just doing what I'm told, and I really love the records. Like, my love just is so deep. It runs so deep and so profound that even if it puts me in situations where I might, not naturally thrive, where I may be a little more not concerned or like frightened, but just like uncomfortable, I'm still gonna do it because that's just where my loyalty is. So I hope nobody feels attacked, because this isn't meant to be an attack. This is just kind of meant to be informative, really, more than anything, just informative. Just inform yourselves and then do what you want after that. No one's gonna come for you. At least I'm not gonna come for you. Yeah, I mean, we're all learning. That's all. So hopefully this is another moment of learning, because it was for me, and I hope it is for you as well. And I hope your curiosities are satisfied. In full disclosure, I will be teaching and introducing a program towards the end of the month and starting in mid-December, for how to access the Akashic Records yourself. Shout out to my tarot student at the Lunar Jungle, Sarah, who knew before I did. I think she had a dream or like a vision or something where she was like, yo, I had a dream/vision that I learned the Akashic Records from you. And I was like, oh, haha, like maybe in a couple years, like I don't feel ready for that. Like, what, a month or two after her graduation, the Akashic Records were like, now. And I was like, they were like, now, right now. So in full disclosure, I will be teaching you guys, or at least presenting an opportunity, if you find it valuable to your experience, to learn how to access your own Akashic Records. I will be presenting an opportunity for that. So as always, it's basically taught by the Akashic Records. I'm just like the facilitator there. But yes, that is coming. I am teaching both the personal access level and the practitioner level, with the personal level being a prerequisite for my program for practitioners. Like, you have to take the personal one before you take the practitioner one. I didn't make the rules. I'm just, declaring them right now. So yeah, look out for that on my website. But yeah, that's just like my little self plug. It's a journey, and I'm definitely putting in a lot of work to put myself in that position that sort of feels out of my league every now and then. But at the same time, I know at this point our relationship is so strong. I know they wouldn't give me this opportunity if I couldn't completely exceed their expectations and my own expectations too. So that's exactly what I am choosing to do, is to just show up as my best self and my most equipped self. So look out for that. Signups will be available pretty soon, and the first class is on December 12th. So, get it together before then if you feel called to. So without further ado, I am going to read off my notes here. And here, I mean my laptop. My laptop is here. So I'm going to read off my notes and kind of conduct this as a Q&A per usual. This will also be published on my website if you prefer to read along with my voice or whatever. So without further ado, let's get started. First question. What are the Akashic Records? What are they not? Because both of those are important. The Akashic Records are a collection of memories, energetic imprints. That's what they mean by memories. Are a collection of energetic imprints that transcend time and space. They are a detailed record of every feeling exactly as it was felt, a record of every decision, belief, thought, and action that a person's soul has ever experienced across every lifetime. The records are a tool, a database of wisdom located deep within the heart of a person where they may find profound enlightenment, the past, present, and future. The Akashic Records are not spiritual guides. The Akashic Records are not just past lives or regression readings of any kind. To put it simply, the Akashic Records are a database, similar to your Google database. The Akashic Records are not a person nor a guide as much as it is a place, a pool of information to pull from that is helpful to your present incarnation. The Akashic Records, again, are not spiritual guides. Your spiritual guides do not exist here. We know of them, who they are, why you chose their assistance, but your spiritual guides do not enter here. Neither do angels nor dragons. When you access the Akashic Records, you are accessing a database. Nothing more, nothing less. The Akashic Records are not a label to put on any reading that uses tools other than the Akasha itself. Yes, I can confirm. Who resides inside the Akashic Records? How do we know who is speaking to us at any given time? Since our guides aren't there, or angels aren't there, who is in there then? Most who access the Akashic Records meet with their record keeper. They are usually experienced as monotonous, hooded figures in red and gold accents. So they're hooded. They have a little hood, a little robe thing. They are anonymous, lower-ranking officials of the Akashic Records. They are keepers because their loyalty is to the records and the truth, not to your perceived needs nor desires. So they will literally keep you from certain information while freely giving out information that is genuinely helpful to your experience and growth. They are similar to information or resource desks at your public libraries. They are not similar to librarians, though. Librarians you can see and maybe know their names. Keepers will always remain anonymous. Their identities are not relevant to their work, therefore never revealed. Others who have deeper access to the halls of the records have the pleasure of meeting and building intimate relationships with the masters, teachers, and loved ones. Masters are the light beings that have never experienced the human condition. These masters are the most frequent helpers of you within the records because they work with individuals, unlike the lords of the Akashic Records who work universally. These masters stay with you throughout your incarnations and help you design your human experiences and plans before, during, and after your human incarnation. They do not typically make their identities known to you, but some of them will. The teachers are the essences that have reached total mastery of specific lessons. They are lesson specific, meaning these teachers do not stay with you like the masters do. They stay until you master the lesson, and then they move on to others looking to learn too. When you inquire regarding a specific lesson your soul would like to learn, the appropriate teacher with the appropriate information will be the one to answer the inquiry. These teachers may be light beings who have incarnated as human beings, as a regular human being, or as a grand teacher such as Jesus Christ. They may have never incarnated at all. The teachers remain anonymous and do not reveal their identities ever. Then there exists within the Akashic Records the loved ones. These loved ones are the essences of ancestors or members of your lineage. However, they are not connected to your present incarnation, so you will not likely see your deceased parent or grandparent in your Akashic Records if you knew and experienced them in life. The loved ones within the records may or may not be human, meaning some of these are animals. These loved ones are members of your soul lineage, so they may be fathers from 4 or more incarnations removed, essence of friends from 2 or more incarnations removed that chose not to re-experience human life this time around with you. So kind of like people that you've known and experienced intimately before that are not here with you now. Most of these essences, these loved ones show up when their support and lived experience are needed for your present incarnation. A loved one will appear for questions such as, where does my tendency to overcompensate come from? What responsibilities have I inappropriately taken on that still hinder the progress of my soul's evolution? For these answers, your loved ones or lineage trail will come, but they mean, I'm sorry, the moon is in Gemini and I somehow can't talk. Let me try that again. For these answers, your loved ones or lineage trail will come, but they come as a means of support or demonstration. They do not conduct a reading and rarely will speak directly to you. Their assistance is supporting you by making themselves known to you if it brings comfort and if their own experiences can be used as an example for your inquiry. Most of these essences remain anonymous with only minor differences in tone and energy for channeling purposes. With the exception of loved ones and some masters, these essences are to remain anonymous. We won't answer who is speaking to you because it doesn't matter. We will not reveal to you what is not necessary. All of these essences respond to the Lords of the Akashic Records, whom sort, organize, and deliver the appropriate informations to be delivered to you. The Lords of the Akashic Records are the record writers, observers, and unreachable entities of objectivity and data. They are charged with protecting and maintaining the uncorruptibility of the Akashic Records. These are the universal entities that decide your level of access, to bar or invite you to the records. These are the decision makers. They are not to be channeled. These essences have never been incarnated as living beings on earth and never will be. Their essence is solely dedicated to the detail-oriented work of tracking the progressions of all others. When you receive information from your masters, teachers, and loved ones, it is because the Lords of the Akashic Records have determined what information and how much is to be pulled from. They choose the chapters or pages of the books that your masters, teachers, and loved ones may use for reference during a session. So the Lords of the Akashic Records are basically like the head honchos, and then it's the masters, teachers, and loved ones. Loved ones being, if you have like an ancestral question where you're just like, where does this come from? They'll probably pull an ancestor and they'll be like, well, take this person's life, for example. They did the same thing and blah, blah, blah. And you inherited it and now whatever. So they'll show you the ancestor and they'll be like, this is their life. And do you see how similar it is to yours? And then you're like, oh, wow. But the ancestor itself never really like talks to you, essentially. They're just kind of there like, hey, girl. Alrighty. Next question. Do the Akashic Records try to communicate with people outside of Akashic sessions? Or are Akashic sessions the only way to communicate with the records? Yes and no. We are not spiritual guides, so we do not follow you around and influence your every move as much as we are ever present in every moment of every being, recording our observations. So they're always there, but they're not there to help you. They're there to observe and record what you're doing. We do not communicate with you outside of Akashic sessions as much as we communicate with you to invite you to conduct a session. That is the extent of our communication outside of a session. We only invite, never influence nor interpret your experiences. That's a big one. So the only reason they communicate with you outside of the Akashic Records is to invite you to get one. That's it. Great. So how are the Akashic Records accessed? I get this question all the time. There are many ways a person may access their Akashic Records. The safest way and the easiest way to introduce these records to the public is to access them via an Akashic Records keeper. A method of access that you may teach to those called to your program, and a method which may be considered an open invitation by the public. That's the method I'll be teaching. In this method, you meet your keeper and build a relationship with them, accessing your records as much as you want. An incredibly important experience. In this way, you will never feel alone, never experience a moment in which you do not feel supported or guided, never a moment of self-reliance for you will have the appropriate and necessary information available to you to enhance your experiences. Others, like you, experience the records by becoming a direct channel. This method of access requires pre-agreed upon responsibilities and requires a series of lived experiences before it becomes activated. This is due to a person being required to reach and maintain a consciousness at the level of the 8th chakra, where the Akashic Records may be channeled. The 8th chakra is like about 18 inches above your crown. That's where it's at. Not every soul chooses to activate or even become aware of this chakra or energetic center because they are looking for other experiences, and to have this knowledge would be to cheat themselves out of certain things. Others, like you, sacrifice certain human conditions in favor of the oneness, and when appropriate, are invited and instructed to become direct channelers, bypassing the keepers. These practitioners are invited to channel through meditation, prayer, hypnosis, etc. You have chosen prayer. Edgar Cayce chose hypnosis. All the same, because all becoming direct agents of our wisdom. So there are other Akashic practitioners out there. I do choose prayer. I open them via vocalized prayer. Others, like Edgar Cayce, who's like super famous, chose hypnosis, or they sleep through their Akashic sessions. How does a person become a direct channel for the Akashic Records? What is the criteria for those invited to become practitioners? You have to do nothing. You either are or are not. Not every person came here concerned with the same things. If you chose to come here at this important time and you did not specify desire to become a channeler of Akashic Records, then we did not set up a series of life experiences for you to learn the necessary tools and skills to become one. And so you will not become one. You will become what you set out to become. All may access their own Akashic Records because they are there to help you. But few will be invited to be practitioners, and even fewer will be instructed to become direct channelers. Not because one is better than another, but because one chooses differently than another, and we honor these choices. Key word here is instructed. The records never leave a potential practitioner in doubt. We will tell you and instruct you on exactly when, where, what to do, etc. to support your journey into your practice. Likewise, if you do not receive invitation and appropriate permissions, your keeper will deliver the news and halt your actions immediately. If you have changed your mind and want to become a practitioner, develop a relationship with your keeper and a life plan to acquire the necessary experiences that will bring you the tools and permissions to become a practitioner. These will include difficult lessons in humility, loss, joy, service, and the sacrifice of individual desires. Your keeper will provide you with plenty of opportunities to demonstrate your commitment to living in a consciousness of one and not of separate. When the Lords of the Akashic Records determine your readiness by examining your heart, your intent, your ancestral lineage, your responsibilities, and how many of them you still possess or have conquered, then you will be invited to access the keepers of others. You can also choose to become a direct channeler, but understand that just because you make that choice in this present lifetime and incarnation does not guarantee that you will reach this goal in one lifetime. So you can always choose to become a direct channeler of the records or a practitioner of some sort, but just because you choose it doesn't mean they'll give it to you or that you'll reach that desire in this lifetime. Just because you came here with a plan for yourself, and to toss that in the middle is just kind of like, ugh. But what about all these other things, So you got to complete those things before you move on to the newer choices that you've made. So this next question. All right. So must a person wait for the appropriate permissions and instructions before becoming practitioners? What happens if a person doesn't? Yes, a person cannot overpower the Akashic Records. We will instruct you to halt your practice. If you try to continue, you will fail. We will go mute. If you fail to heed our instructions, you push yourself further away from the access you seek, and it becomes counterintuitive. It is better to listen to our reasoning, our suggestions, and to answer our challenges than it is to throw a tantrum and press on. If your practice is halted, just halt it. They're never going to tell you stop and not give you a reason. They'll tell you the reason why. It's not the appropriate time. It's too challenging for you right now. There's too many things going on. Whatever it is, they're always going to tell you why and how to navigate through that. You never should feel challenged by the records specifically. Like, they're not out to harm you. They're looking out for you. So it's better to just listen, honestly. Yeah. I know quite a few people that have had to halt their practice. I never did. But I did have to learn some really challenging lessons after I already became a practitioner. So everyone is just different. So just be patient with yourselves, you know? Moving on. I just wanted to, really drive that point home. But moving on. Is it possible to conduct an Akashic tarot reading and combine the practices? You know good and well that it is possible. However, they must be learned and mastered separately. If you do not access the Akashic Records by yourself without tools, if you are not absolutely certain that what you are working with are the Akashic Records, then you are mislabeling your reading. Describe your experience and our reasoning, as we will not repeat ourselves. The authority, they're like, we're not repeating ourselves, just tell them what you know. All right, here's the thing. Yes, you can conduct an Akashic session and tarot reading at the same time, but it doesn't do what y'all think it does, because depending on my environment, and right now I'm not really living at my own place, and so I'm susceptible to a lot of different energies that kind of can corrupt my work if I let it, So what I do is I keep my Akashic Records open 24/7 around the clock, including when I'm taking tarot appointments, but they're my records. Now, when I open the Akashic Records and I conduct a reading, it pretty much eliminates the need for tarot at all, because I just ask what I need to say. Like I drop the cards and I'm just like, all right, like, what do you want me to say? And then I say it, so it makes tarot reading really, really, really easy. The downside is that because I'm encased in a pillar of Akashic light, that means that I kind of lose some of the intuitive sensations that I would get if I didn't have that pillar of light, because that pillar of light is impenetrable to anything that I don't specifically invite. I don't get to channel your spirit guides. I don't get to channel your deceased loved ones. I don't get to channel anything other than like the spread I'm reading. So yeah, like the reason why I learned them separately is because the Akashic Records didn't want my records to become a crutch for my tarot experience. So I got really, really freakishly good at tarot in a really short amount of time. And then when I moved on to the Akashic Records, I got really good at the Akashic Records. And to this day, I prefer to keep them separately because I like the intuitive sensations that I get through reading tarot by itself. Like I love getting unexpected visits from people's loved ones, and I love feeling what they feel, and I love everything about it. It's so great. And when I read the tarot in the walls of the Akashic light, I still read with my intuition, like the messages still come through, but the experience of it all, like the sensation of it all, is very calm and very neutral and totally objective, as opposed to as dramatic as my tarot readings typically get. Because I'm just like, all right, come hither, spirits. And the Akashic Records is like, nah, you can't even come here if you wanted to. So like, you're good. So I personally, as a practitioner of both, prefer to read them separately because I prefer to experience them separately. But because of the protective qualities that the Akashic light has, lately I have been practicing tarot with the Akashic Records open, sacrificing some of that intuitive experience for me. So no, it doesn't make you Super Saiyan. It in fact really simplifies the experience. So it's the total opposite than you would think. Anyway, so I'm glad they let me answer that one by myself, because yes, I started working with the Akashic Records in May of this year, 2019, and I didn't start reading tarot with them open until October 2019, when my external circumstances changed and I needed the extra layer of boundary and protection. That's it. As soon as my circumstances change again, I will go back to reading them separately because it's more fun. It's more enjoyable for me that way. But, we roll with the punches around here. Alrighty. Next question. How can an intuitive tell when they have made access to the Akasha or not? They will know it certainly. We tell them. We show them. We make it absolutely clear in any and all ways possible that you are in fact in the database and pillar of light known as the Akasha. If it is not absolutely clear, you are not there. Do not assume that you are. There are many energetic spaces and dimensions other than this one. Find the name of the one you are in, but if it is not Akashic, find the name of the one you are in, but it is not Akashic if we do not specify to you that it is. Doubt is a sure sign that you are not in the Akasha. Those who operate within the Akasha never experience doubt. This is true. When I open the Akashic Records, I'm completely certain of what I'm saying, of what is being said to me. It's hard to encompass in words, but there's not a fear. There's not a doubt in my mind that what is being said to me, what is being channeled to me, what I am experiencing, it's totally true. It feels completely at peace. It feels like I'll never have a question again. And I'm sure some of my clients feel this way too. I've had clients that have worked with me personally that tell me, they're like, wow, I've never been more sure of myself ever. And I'm like, yes, so if you find yourself doubting it, second guessing it, you're probably not there. That's a sure sign. Like if it feels uncomfortable to call it Akasha, or if you're just like, I'm just going to wing it and call it Akashic because I don't really know what else to call it, that's a pretty sure sign that you are not there. So what are the consequences of mislabeling energy work under the Akashic label? We will correct the mistake as lovingly or as aggressively as we must, but we cannot tolerate that the Akasha energy becomes confused and corrupted to sell a service. It pushes you further from the access you claim to have, and until corrected, we will make it more and more challenging for you to offer services at all. If you cannot discern a basic imprint of energy that clearly says, do not title this service Akashic because it is not, then you are demonstrating that you cannot properly interpret energy and should therefore be reconsidered for the practice. This is not punishment, this is an act of love. If you cannot discern our absolute support or guidance in the opposite direction of the one you are currently taking, then you are demonstrating to us that you are not skilled enough to read energetic impressions appropriately, and so they will become more and more challenging to read until the action is corrected and ceased, until you show you know better. When in doubt, ask us, through a practitioner of your choice, through a third-party energy reader, through the access of your own keeper. And if all else fails, pray that we show you a sign of support or rejection, and we shall answer it obviously for you to avoid this confusion. The Akasha will not be mislabeled nor misunderstood deliberately. We will protect the Akasha at all costs. What factors determine the level of access a person is granted to their own records? What factors determine the level of access that practitioners receive into the records of another being? The level of access is determined by the level of consciousness they are living at. For the purposes of this short video, we will make the following analogy. If a person is living in survival, in the pleasures of the root chakra, then they are granted access to the ground floor of the records. Answers pertaining to the level of life they are operating at. Remember, it is not about merely accessing the 8th chakra. It is about consistently living in the consciousness that allows long-standing access to it. This is true of practitioners too, of all kinds. The level of consciousness that they practice in will determine the depth of the answers they are willing to receive and deliver. Additionally, a channeler will only receive the transmissions that an asker is ready to comfortably receive. That makes total sense to me. That just 100% resonates. Why are the records so mysterious and difficult to articulate with just words? How can we better differentiate between what is Akashic in nature and what is not? We are not meant to be known by everyone is the simplest answer we may provide. To those we are meant to cross paths with, words become so limiting to fully express the value and feeling of the Akashic Records, the incredible shift in energy, the amazingness of experiencing total oneness with the universe if only for a brief moment. How do you describe all of these limitless feelings, the depth of emotion and energetic exchange with just words? You can better differentiate by familiarizing yourself with what the Akashic Records are like. We are not dramatic. We are extremely subtle, almost undetectable except to the exceptionally trained and sensitive. It is simple to just ask us. We will confirm or deny your experience as Akashic. A reminder, the Akasha is a place, a database. The Akashic Records are a vehicle to get to that place. A tarot reading is not an appropriate vehicle to get to the Akasha in the absence of specific training and instructions to get there. First, you train there with the vehicle, and upon reaching the destination often enough, you may choose to integrate the vehicle with others. You cannot just call something Akashic because you want to. So basically what they're saying is to get to the Akasha, which is the energy, the frequency, where all the answers are, you learn the Akashic Records. You go through the library, if you call it that, the book of life, whatever. You go through the Akashic Records. Once you learn the Akashic Records, you can access the Akasha by just asking to see it at that point. Once you master the energy and become comfortable in it, is what they're saying. Meaning, if I were to conduct a tarot reader with my Akashic Records closed, but I chose or needed the Akasha energy to finish up the reading or to clarify something, I can just call on it. Like, it just like, boop, there it is. And it's true. They are not dramatic at all. It's actually really freaky how subtle the energy is. It's like barely there. So yeah, if you're not hypersensitive and hyper self-aware, it's almost impossible to tell the difference between your own inner monologue and what's actually being channeled to you. But if you want to give it a shot and you want to experience it for yourself, again, I will be teaching it. So yeah, I can be the one to appropriately train you. Great. Are there any downsides or negative consequences that come from accessing the records? No. Not all experiences will be pleasant, but all experiences will be positive in the long run. The only downside is being confronted by the total sum of your disadvantageous decisions that prolong your suffering. But even this, while acknowledging that it is difficult, is positive in the long run. There really is nothing bad about the Akashic Records unless you don't want to know yourself, then don't go to the Akashic Records. If you want to be coddled, do not go there. Okay, what advice do you have for those aspiring to access their own records? What about those aspiring to become practitioners? The advice we have for those aspiring to reach their own Akashic Records is to first do so via a practitioner of their choice. This way, they can receive instructions specific to them for access. Another piece of advice is to remember that some souls specifically do not desire that their records are accessed or easily available to them. Confirm if you are one of those souls. To all others, remember that the Akashic is the furthest thing away from the human experience in nature. It is not loud, nor interpretive or subjective. It is completely factual and objective. Become comfortable in this realm of absolutes. For those wishing to reach their own records, we have created and inspired many different methods of learning how to, one of our newest being the program of this particular practitioner, but many books and resources exist to teach one an infinite number of ways to access your records. Either do your research until you find one that works, or book a session with an available practitioner to receive your specific instructions and suggestions. Our advice for those aspiring to become practitioners is the following. Ask yourself why you want to become a practitioner. To become a practitioner means to embody every lesson in every session you conduct. To embody means to experience it for yourself. It is an invitation made over and over again to add more and more growth-oriented experiences for yourself that do not always directly pertain to your goals, yet practitioners make the sacrifice anyway. To access is not the challenging part. To maintain a consistent state of the Akashic consciousness and the purity of heart and intent is the challenging part. If you wish to learn it, we shall show you, and when you see the sacrifices and it no longer appeals to you, we will respect your wish to withdraw. If you suffer brutally moving through your prerequisite life experiences, and you continue to press on, we will lovingly halt your progress in favor of your mental and emotional health. The Akashic Records practitioners abide by a lifestyle, a state of beingness, not just a practice. Please consider carefully if becoming a practitioner truly serves the larger plan of your life before choosing it. For those who chose the records before incarnating, your time is coming, and we are going to do everything in our power to make it abundantly clear to you which learning method is easiest and most aligned with your path. To all watching, reading, or listening to this conversation today, we bid you goodbye and hope that this brief overview of our energetic imprint is enough to inspire your life and journey within the Akashic Records, which is to say, we hope you are inspired to see yourself as part of something bigger, so big that you are insignificant. In this insignificance, you reach the glory. Amen. That is so beautiful to me, to get to a place where you mean nothing at all and you're okay with that you know nothing, is such a wonderful space for me to be in. And I consider myself so privileged to constantly live in that state of knowing that I am nothing, and that I'm insignificant, and how freeing and liberating that is. So yeah, that's it. That's the information. I love it. I love you guys. I love the Akashic Records. I am so ardently passionate about bringing them to you, because if maybe you don't become a practitioner, maybe that's just not for you. Like maybe that's just not what your soul wanted. Your soul doesn't give a shit. But to those who are called to at least the personal access level, just having these incredible beings at your service is just something so life-changing and powerful that I honestly can't encompass it in words. In either of the languages that I know, I can't possibly encompass the difference it has made in my being. I am a new and better person. I am a more complete person because I have access to my Akashic Records, and I'm going to do what I can to make them accessible to you. So if you're called to it, you're called to it, and if you're not, that's totally fine. Find something else, but I'm always going to be an advocate for inviting your own experience with yourself and, the unseen forces that are out there that very much do influence our daily lives. So yeah, that's it. I really hope that this was informational, that if it was entertaining, great. If it wasn't, that at least you learned something. And I hope it kind of dispels some of that confusion that's been going around on the internet about what is Akashic and what's not. If it's dramatic, it's probably not Akashic. Just letting you know. That's a good rule of thumb. But yeah, my experience with the Akashic Records took a lot of stamina, for sure. A lot of sensitivity and a lot of just blind fucking faith. Like there's nothing else except I'm just gonna trust the information I'm receiving, act on it, and see what happens. And I'm living my best life. I feel very joyful to be here with all of you. And yeah, I really hope that everyone that has an Akashic session, whether it's with me or with someone else, like the practitioner, doesn't even matter. Whoever is out there having a Akashic session, I really hope that you're brave enough to act on the suggestions that are given to you, because I have, and it's been incredible. It's totally life-changing. So yeah, I really hope that some of you answer this open invitation to at least getting to know your keeper. Getting to know your keeper is just insane and awesome. So I hope I see you soon. You guys take care, and let me know in the comments if you want to know more, or, what's the tea, what you thought, if anything resonated with you. Yeah. All right, cool. Bye.